welcome to another episode of Los Banos Talk. My name is Justin Collins. Today I have a special guest with me, Rhonda Lowe, and we're going to talk to you about the business environment right now in the current pandemic, the challenges that it's posing to local small businesses, and we're going to talk about some of the solutions we found, some of the interesting ways that local businesses have been adapting to it. And so without further ado, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself right after a brief message from our sponsor. And we're back. Thanks for watching.
Well, thank you, Justin, for having me on your show. I always look forward to this. I'm Rhonda Lowe with Rhonda Lowe Consulting, and I help small businesses start or grow their business. And it really comes back to the fact that I'm so passionate about keeping the opportunity for people to start a business of their own, to be part of the economic landscape of their community, of our community. And so I really focus really the majority of my work on making that happen and doing all I can to make that happen.
And I can definitely vouch for her expertise because, well, she's my business coach. So she definitely knows what she's talking about. I can vouch for that.
Thank you.
Um, so let's talk business. That's what we're here to do. So obviously, I think one of the things we've seen is that businesses are having to go more online. They're having to market themselves in different ways to find their customers or their clients in their home, right? They're having to kind of say, hey, we are open and manage that information and let people know, hey, we're still here. But when you go online, right, there's this fear like, okay, I have to compete with all these other businesses that are also online. So what's some of the ways that you've kind of found or identified that businesses can really stand out online and kind of compete with these big box stores?
I think one of the interesting things that we can say that we've learned from this time is that there's no one tried and true way to do anything anymore. We have been on such a roller coaster during this time. And one of the things that we have noticed is that the businesses that have an online presence are the ones that are actually surviving better. There's a whole element of people that don't want to leave their homes. They want to shop online. And they like now the convenience of it. They feel the safety of it. And so I think in some ways we've created an even bigger online demographic in our community and in communities everywhere. But that doesn't mean that we can't compete with these big box stores, which have been open all along and have been a major competition for our small businesses and for the online shopping experience, and especially the online giants like Amazon. So the one thing that we have learned, though, is that we really have to give people a reason, and a really compelling reason, to come to our businesses, to get them up out of their comfortable chair in their warm house and going outside, or even to going to our website. But we need that reason that says this is why you need to shop with us. And it's always been kind of a component of how I work with my clients. But I think even more so now, we've got people that are having to say, this is what makes my business special. This is why you should come to my business and not go to that business. And so it's really what has become a brand new focus of my business, with helping our businesses become a destination business and to really hone in on what makes them completely unique from anyone else.
So I like the idea and the direction you're taking it with the uniqueness because I commonly see, and it is true, a lot of people like to kind of push this support me because I'm local, support local small businesses. That works for some people, but not everyone. Some people are going, nope, you have to give me a value You have to add some kind of value besides just being local in order for me to shop with you. I would rather go here and either whether it be save money, etc. And a lot of small businesses have a hard time competing when it comes to price. But when it comes to customer service, when it comes to quality, craftsmanship, etc., or specialization, that's really where they can shine. And me personally, I feel like a great place to showcase that is social media, because it's an excellent place where you can kind of show, hey, this is what we do and we're unique. Because for instance, there's a store in town that makes customized grills, etc. That's not something you can buy at Walmart. You just can't. um, there's various stores that make unique, interesting items that only they make, whether it be custom arrangements or whatever. The point being is that they and they alone make that. And that's something you can't replicate. They also have expertise that the associate at Walmart doesn't have. And they're not going to be able to tell you, no, that's the tool you need for that job, or that's the thing you need for that. But you have that and you can sell that to people. And I think one of the best ways is via social media to do that.
I totally agree with that. Social media is it's powerful, and it can be free. People, you don't have to pay to play. Although I mean there is some value in some cases for that. But it also helps you to build relationships with people and to reach people that you might not otherwise. We're past the days of where we had a newspaper that pretty much reached everybody in town. We don't have that anymore. That when I had my businesses, especially my early on businesses, that is how we advertised. That's how you got the word out to everybody. Well, that's not a player anymore when it comes to marketing your business. And social media is, and finding where your ideal customers are at, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, all of those have their own value. Uh, and that's where you need to be. Wherever your ideal client is the social media platform you should be on. And you'll get a lot of return on your investment for that.
So there's a few things about social media I think I'd like to mention that I think would be useful for small businesses to know. A lot of people don't know this, but Facebook, in particular, as well as Instagram, because they're owned by the same, actually their algorithms like to prioritize local connections. So if you have a local business that says it's based in, say, Las Banos, and there's other people that also live in that vicinity, they're actually more likely to show your stuff to those people than they are to, say, a larger business. They're actually kind of shifting their model and wanting to focus more on helping small businesses, etc., with that kind of thing. Additionally, what I was going to say is that I think people need to rethink what they consider to be social media. For instance, people might not think of things like Pinterest or Etsy as social media, but they actually are. And being on these various platforms, especially if there's one that fits your niche, like if you, let's say, you make decor, home decor, or you make arrangements or floral or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
uh, why don't you have an Etsy account? Why not? It's a good question because you could also be selling there as well as online. Your customers don't just have to be all local. You could get supplemented from outside revenue as well. I have a client that does that. We have a website for them, and they do sell to a lot of businesses in Los Banos, but we ship all over the country too. And it's another way to kind of help supplement your income.
A lot of people, and that's very true, and a lot of people don't realize the power of Pinterest. You brought that up, when Pinterest first started, it was really, it was about recipes and it was about do-it-yourself kind of things. Well, on Pinterest now, you can sell virtually anything. There's business coaches like me on there that are selling their products. Anything you want, you can pretty much find on Pinterest. And it's actually become the third most powerful social media platform for generating sales for people in business. Excuse me. So again, it really goes back to knowing where your ideal clients are at and adapting what you're putting on there to reach that ideal client.
One thing I want to bring up that I think a lot of people aren't aware is that when it comes to social media too, that I think is interesting is that there is a culture. There's a culture that's created, and different cities, different towns kind of gravitate towards different groups with different ages. And Los Banos specifically, one thing that I find is interesting is that the biggest by far is Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
People in this city love Facebook, and there's reasons for that. Our police department primarily uses Facebook. Our city government primarily uses Facebook to communicate. We have Facebook groups that have upwards of 10,000 plus members in it.
Mm-hmm.
My page does, of all the social media platforms I use, Facebook does the best, Instagram being number two. But what I'm simply getting at is that it does make sense to kind of maybe like say, where are my customers at too? And I think a reasonable thing to do too is to ask them when they walk into your store, what social media do you use? Oh, I'm primarily on Facebook. Oh, I'm mainly on Instagram. I'm mainly on Twitter. And that is a way, a random survey give you an idea of, well, maybe I should be on that. Because I know some people say to themselves, well, I hate, because like me, I hate Instagram. I honestly do. But I actually get a lot of people who watch my stuff on Instagram now. It doesn't matter that I don't like it.
Right,
What matters is what my customers like, what my clients like.
right.
So I hate Instagram, but I use it. I've gotten good with it. It is what it is. I prefer Facebook over all the platforms, but I here I am using Instagram because I should. I also
Right,
hate Twitter, and I use that too. Um,
right.
but but I guess what I'm saying is it's not just about what you like. Think about where are your clients at, where are your customers at, what do they use?
I think the other thing to bring into account here, and it's something that I spend a lot of time talking with my clients about, is really effectively using those platforms. It needs to be done with a plan and with a focus and with a strategy. It can't be off and on and post here and a week later you post there kind of thing. For it to be effective and to get you the results that you want, you've got to be there. You've got to be present, and you've got to be building those relationships, and you've got to be consistent. And Facebook, more than any of them, with the exception maybe of Instagram, that's what they reward. They're looking for people that are committing to their platform and that are posting every single day, at least once a day, is what they're looking for. If you're gonna beat the algorithm, which we know we can't totally beat it, but if you're gonna make it work to your benefit, you've got to commit to making social media part of your real marketing program and have a system in place for that.
Right. I think one of the issues is that for the longest time, people thought of social media as being supplemental, but also people thought of social media as an alternative to a website, but it's not at all. It's very different from what a website does and what it's for. A website could be more, in my opinion, more comparable to like a billboard or something like that that says, hey, I'm here. This is what I offer. And it's more static. But social media is social, it's interactive. So if you or somebody's not going to really participate or partake, it's not going to be as effective. But I also definitely agree with what you said about strategy. That's what I help small businesses with. I do professional social media management, and one of the things I do is I make sure they have at least one post per day, every day at a minimum. We also make quality posts, and we think about things like make sure it has a call to action. And then we also think, okay, it's not just about getting likes, follows, and clicks, it's also about making money. So, where's your profit margins at? What do you need to advertise specifically? What do you need to draw on? Where do you need to put the attention? And then we focus our campaign around that. plan it out even a month ahead or so. Valentine's is coming up, so let's make our post focused on that and what you're doing. Are you going to offer a special or something like that? Let's focus on that. But just like you would plan any other marketing strategy, you should make Facebook work for you. You're not just burning and turning for no reason. The goal is that this should make you money. This should increase your business. And if you're not doing it right, or you're not doing it
Right.
with a real reason in mind.
And I haven't ever even thought about this, I guess, out loud, but first of all, Facebook is social media. It is meant to be social. And I view it as being that relationship builder that is a feeder for me because most people aren't buying my products off of Facebook. They're creating a relationship with me. We have that interaction, that back and forth. I view my website as what all of my social media leads people to.
Mhm.
My website is my real estate. I have control of that where I don't have control really of Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg can decide who sees my messages, how often they see my message. So I do my best to make social media work for me, but ultimately direct people to my website where they can learn more about my business and learn other things from me there. So, and kind of going back to this whole thing with COVID, where we've had people who prior to that, they just counted on people walking in the front door of their business. And then when COVID hit, we found that that wasn't a really good option at this point. And here it is almost 11 months later, and it's still not a good option because we don't know if we're going to be open from one week or one day to the next kind of thing. So creating that all comprehensive kind of marketing plan kind of brings us back full circle to what we started talking about is you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You want to be diversified in how you market your business and how you get the message out there because it's a game anymore. It's a strategy that you have to try to find the best strategy for your business.
Right. And that is a good point about definitely diversification, which you should do with really anything in business, investment, whatever. But when we get to social media, the rules change. Different platforms have different rules. Also, what if, let's say, in your personal account, right? You're mouthing off about political opinions and stuff, right? And that's
Mhm.
fine. A lot of people like to do that. But then you get banned or censored,
Right.
or you get put in a Facebook jail, as they call it, for a week. If your page is admin, if the admin on your page is your personal account, and it has to be, and you don't have another admin, well, guess what? You're now locked out of your page for that duration as well. And
Right.
I've actually had clients where they've come to me and they've said, I'm now in Facebook jail. So I actually need you to run my page because otherwise I can't even do it anymore right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to tell you don't voice your opinions and stuff. What I am trying to tell you is have a backup plan. Make another small account, create that as an admin, and don't do anything with it. It's just blank. Have that as a backup. Or if you have someone else who helps manage your social media, then you have that person. But the point is don't put all your eggs in one basket with that one account, because if
Right.
that account gets banned or something, you are screwed royally.
Yeah.
All that hard
Yeah,
work
it
is
just shows
gone.
the power they have over us, that they can do that. And it's hard even sometimes to find out why if you get banned or put into Facebook jail. It's not always easy to get any kind of resolution out of that.
No, I've had people where they appeal, right? And then they say that it might be resolved, and then usually the time period is like 3 to 6 months from now.
Yeah,
And you might be totally innocent, but at the end of the day, does it really matter? At the end of the day, you can't access your stuff. So that's why it makes absolute sense to have a backup way to access your page and not only have it exclusively tied to your personal page,
right.
because that can create a lot of problems for you.
And you have to think too about how many people you're offending or alienating if you get off, on one side or the other. People have a right to having their opinions, but my personal opinion is that you don't, for in general, you don't want to intermix your political opinions, your religious opinions with your business. Business should be business, and those should be, your private or your personal stances that you want to take, unless you're willing, to take that chance. But if you're in business, you might want to think that one through.
And I see that actually commonly. I see businesses sometimes make a political post through their business site, and I would really caution strongly against that for the reason you just said. You're no matter what, you're going to upset half of people no matter
Yeah.
which way you go. And really, whether you're conservative or liberal, both of them partake in restaurants. Both liberals and conservatives buy goods and services.
Mhm.
So, do you really care about someone's political opinion if they're handing you money and buying your service? I personally
Yeah.
don't. But
Yeah.
my show or my business is kind of a bad example because I get to give my opinions and stuff for fun, and that's what people actually come to watch. But I really would not recommend that at all for uh, for businesses to do. It's just not. The other problem is, and it goes with what we said was is branding. A lot of social media and the growing generations really care a lot about the ethics and how a business operates, and then they want to support businesses that they feel are more ethical than others. And so if you put out a particular like political agenda, so to speak, they feel like by supporting you, they're supporting that political cause and they're supporting your ability to have a platform, which is kind of that whole cancel culture thing. But needless to say, you really don't want to be up on a list to be canceled. You really don't want that to be a thing. So as a, it's not that as a business owner you can't have your opinions, but if it's tied to your page, if it's really obvious you own, and especially if you're doing it through your page, which I really don't recommend, then that can create some serious problems for you. That can really
Yeah.
make you lose a lot of business, and I don't think you'll gain a lot out of it. I think you'll just kind of lose.
I agree, and I think in this day and age, businesses have a hard enough time succeeding. You want to do all you can to bring customers into your business, whether it's online, whether it's in a brick and mortar location, and it's hard enough to do that. So, kind of eliminating some of those things that could remove people from being potential customers of yours is, I think, more important than ever now. And we're working so hard, and that's been kind of the focus of our initial content we were talking about is, what does it take to get people to come into your business now? How are you going to attract people to not only survive but to really thrive? And we know that can happen in spite of all the things that are going on around us. But it really comes back to, what is it about your business that makes you totally different than any other business around you? What makes that person think that they have to go into your business? They can't wait to go into your business. And I think that's really become a major focus of what I'm working on now with helping people create that destination attitude in their business.
That's, one of the things that I'm a big believer in, and that I try to encourage people to do is, especially with social media, is content marketing. And by that, if all you do is post commercial after commercial, yes, you're going to get people and stuff. That's true, but it gets to a point where it's boring, and some people are going to tune you out after a while. However, if you kind of do like a, here's a video of me teaching you something you probably didn't know. I'll make up a business off the top of my head. Let's say you're a nursery or gardener or something like that, and you sell flowers or whatever, and you make a video on how to keep the flowers in your vase looking good longer. A trick that most people don't know. A tip you found out. I don't know, and I'm making up. Let's say adding in salt somehow makes it. Probably doesn't. I'm just making that up. Um, well, that's interesting, and then also it'll get people to buy your flowers. but it actually gives them something to want to watch and to maybe share with others. I find that the best reach, even better than the paid ads, frankly, is actually organic. And the way you can really increase your organic reach is create something that's worth sharing and interesting. And then the other thing, or funny, but not offensive. And then the other thing is groups, the power of groups, finding relative groups to your business that are going to allow you to share, because groups have about 3 times the organic reach as a page does. However, it doesn't have all the business tools that a page does. And you can also create a group associated with your page, create a group that you can advertise to on a regular basis through content and share interesting articles and stuff, etc. But you can get those people more interested in your type of stuff. So whatever it is that you sell, you can make those people enthusiasts or hobbyists of your product, of your niche. So I like that idea of creating community and using those groups as an advantage, and sharing things to groups. That's one of the secrets, I guess you could say, to my success. But I generally just rely on organic reach. It's better to make good quality stuff that people are going to want to share. That'll do you far more good than you could spend lots of money on something really boring, and it won't really get you a return on your investment. It really is about being a little bit creative, a little something that added that little something to you, you know.
Well, I believe that as well. We all start with our personal profile page, which, and we know that we're not supposed to use that for business. That goes against the terms of agreement with Facebook, and that can get you in all kinds of trouble doing that. And then you have your business page, and I have my business page, but I also have a group which is specific for independent retailers, because that's really my niche group that I like to work with and help them survive through all of this and thrive. So you're right, having both a business page and a group gives you that opportunity to really hone your message in. And with a group, the one thing that makes them different from a business page is if the people in your group actually see all of your messages, that all of your posts. Whereas on your business page, it's usually not better than 7% of the people on there will see your post at any given time. So as hard as we work to make our business pages all that and more, we still know that it's a very limited audience that actually sees any of our posts.
Right. And which is why I have, for myself, I have a business page and group. And many of my clients as well, I have a page and a group. I make them a group as well. There's some other cool tricks you could do with groups that are interesting, which is you can create polls. And I can't tell you how many decisions I've made where I've literally just, because one of the things about a group, if it's tied to a page, is you can invite people who already like your page. So you can assume that if this person likes your page and then they come into the group, they're probably, I don't want to say a super fan, but they're probably someone who actually genuinely likes your stuff. And that's
Yeah.
generally what I find, is that the ones that make it all the way to that group are true loyal customers, fans, whatever you want to call it. And you can ask those people, hey, what do you want? And they love it. And I do that all the time. I do a poll, which is how I decided when I'm going to do, my live shows. I was like, okay, what day of the week would you guys prefer? And what hours would you prefer? And I gave them all the options that I'm willing to do. And then I just went with the best on both choices. And I've done other things too. I've said, well, what kind of souvenirs would you guys prefer? What kind of this, what product would you like me to start doing, or what new shows would you like to see? And then they tell me, and it's pretty reliable. I mean, I'm just saying that's another great way to really interact with your customers. You could just seriously ask them, what do you want? What more do you want of this? And they'll tell you. They love to tell you. They love to feel empowered and tell you that.
And one way I like to see retailers, because I'm really passionate about retailers. One thing that retailers can do is they can create a group on their social medias, on their Facebook, and it's more like a VIP group. And that those are the people that really are, they're probably top 10% of their customers. They're loyal, they're raving fans of that particular business, and you can reward them in that group by showing them new merchandise that's coming in ahead of time or offering a special VIP discount. So they can take, even as a retailer, and use that as a way to honor and to reward their best customers as well. I love groups for that reason.
Yeah, I like I like a lot of the things that groups allow you to do. There are a few things that you can't do in a group, like you can't really do ads and such, but you actually can sell products through groups, and you can sell products on your page. In fact, if let's say you have a Shopify or really any e-commerce type site, or even if you don't, you can actually set it up strictly on Facebook and Instagram, but Facebook and Instagram takes a fee. But what you can do is you can actually sell your products on Facebook and Instagram. I find with one of my clients, the data actually shows that 90% of all of our sales started with Facebook. 90%. And we're actually doing pretty good. But basically, the marketing strategy has really been mainly from Facebook. Because in terms of SEO, search engine
Mhm.
optimization, et cetera, it's going to be really hard for you to compete with the big box stores in terms of on Google searching, because you're
Mhm.
just not going to be able to pay enough to really get up there probably. But you can get people to go from your social media to your website, which is, I agree with you, that idea of funnel, getting
Mhm.
people to go from there to there. And another great thing that Facebook has is you can actually do leads. So if your business is the kind where you perform a service and really you need leads to contact, you can actually do forms and leads, and you can get forms and leads. And that's also good for business to business model. But if you're business to business, you definitely should be on LinkedIn for sure. But I'd say Facebook is also pretty good for business to business. But yeah, there's different platforms, different niches, and you should think about where you fall in, and maybe where your customers might be.
I know one of the biggest problems for most small businesses is really the manpower and the time to get stuff done, and that's why both you and I are really in support of picking one or two platforms to really focus on, and not only just to focus on, but to get really good at. If you're going to do your own social media management, you need to make sure that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you could be wasting a lot of time for little to no results or doing it wrong where it's kind of working against you. So, from a time management standpoint, make it as easy on yourself as you can. Facebook and Instagram, you can use the business suite and you can book both things at the same time. You can schedule out ahead of time, which saves you time. I generally schedule my posts 2 weeks out so that I'm not doing it every single day. And part of that is just like time blocking and things like that. But for a small business person, you're also out there helping customers. You're answering the phone, you're doing your back office work, you're ordering merchandise. You got a million things to do, if especially if you're in the retail industry. So, finding ways to make all of these things work for you and not drive you totally crazy is kind of the secret here.
Right. I was gonna say, if you're doing it alone, I think Facebook and Instagram work great because of the reason you just said. You can post to both simultaneously if you
Mhm.
successfully link your Instagram business to a Facebook business page. But I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many people I run into that have a hard time figuring out how to do that. Um, that being said, you can use other services like Hootsuite, for instance, the free version, and then you can plug in up to 3 streams. But a lot of people find it challenging and not very user friendly. I use it for my business, but that's because I'm managing multiple clients, at a time. But that's another reason I kind of suggest, hiring someone like myself or like you to manage their social media, because one, if you don't know what you're doing, you're not really going to use it as effectively. But
Mhm.
two, just the time.
Right.
Uh, I can make sure you have a post every single day,
Mhm.
and amongst other things. It makes sense, I think, to kind of get that thing out, because it's not a good idea always to use one of your employees, because your employees might say or do something you don't like on there. The other thing is if they're doing that, they're not doing their work. And then the last thing I like to think of when it comes to the business owners, they waste too much time a lot of times on their social media. And what I mean by that is they go in to do work stuff, but then they end up just like enjoying it and scrolling way too much. And I find that it kind of sucks them into wasting a lot of time. But I find a lot of business owners, when they try to do their own social media, they end up spending time looking at everyone else's stuff,
Mhm.
getting very little done on their own stuff, not very productive, and then they're very limited by what they know, and the amount of time they would spend learning how to do all those things. They could go through the Facebook Academy and they could do all those things and they could read the books. But literally that's all I do. I read that stuff all the time. It's like a full-time job, just keeping up with all the changing ways in which the platform changes and such and such. So I think it makes sense to try to get someone that you can afford, someone that's reasonable to do that service for you if you can. But if you are going to do it yourself, then I recommend probably at least learning how to do the basic Hootsuite, the free version, or use the Page Manager app, and then you can post to both Facebook and Instagram yourself, or learning how to create posts via the post creation tool, the publisher creation tool, as opposed to directly posting. But I find most have a hard time navigating that and figuring it out.
Well, small business owners wear so many hats without a doubt. You have so many things that you have to do, and I am a big proponent of delegating. Now I'm a big proponent. I wasn't always a big proponent, but of delegating. Find those things that are going to use be the best use of your time. That's going to make money for your business. That's going to be your passion and your strengths, and the things that you can hand off to somebody else that are not the ones that are making you maybe money. They're good support services, but find ways to hand those things off and delegate so that you can have some sense of work-life balance. And like I said, I can't say that was always the case for me. I was do it all and just struggling to make ends meet when I could probably have made more progress and money if I delegated things and then focused on the things that were my strengths that could actually make more money for me.
Right. I get that all the time. A lot of people at first they kind of go, "Well, I don't know, it costs money to, hire someone to do my Facebook or something for me." But, after a lot of times after I take over, they kind of feel like, wow, I'm really glad I did that, because now one, it's something I don't have to do anymore. It saves me up time to do other stuff, but also I'm seeing an increase of business. It's working smoother. People are enjoying my stuff. My like count is growing. It's not just about having someone do something for you to save time. It's also about having someone who's better than you at doing it do it for you.
Mhm.
If you're not an expert at it, it doesn't make sense for you to. What takes you 5 hours to figure out might take me 10 minutes.
Right.
And so it's the other thing to think about.
True.
And that reminds me, Rhonda, you're launching a new program or something to that effect, I believe, where you're going to be doing coaching with individual business owners. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
I'm really excited about it. It's called the Destination Course, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier, where we were talking about businesses creating that mindset of a destination. It's actually a course that I came across that I became a facilitator in just recently, where what we do is we take you across 8 sessions and you learn what it is that will make your business become a destination, something that makes you totally unique from everyone else, that nobody else can say about their business that you can say about yours. And so through this 8 week course or 8 session course we go through, it takes you step by step and helps you create what your unique positioning statement is that sets you apart from everyone else. So I'm totally excited about this. It, like all of my coaching now, it's all online via Zoom, and we can do it in individual one-on-one, or we can do it as groups, and it's now available, and I'm excited to get started with it. It's called the Destination Course.
Cool. So maybe give us like a little taste, a little teaser here. So let's say I'm a business, whether it be in downtown or off Pacheco or something like that. Maybe I'm retail, maybe I'm a restaurant. What's maybe some of the kind of things that we would focus on in order to make that person really stand out, to make that an experiential thing.
Well, one of the components of the course is really focuses in on that unique positioning statement, and we give lots of examples of businesses that are in towns even smaller by a lot than Los Banos, that had a business that figured out a way to make them stand out. There's one business that we highlight that it was just a regular hardware kind of store, just a general merchandise kind of store, and she put in the world's longest candy display, and it's 44 feet of these candy jars, and she got written up in the Guinness Book World Records. There's another business that made a square taco, and he took what we all know, and everybody knows what a taco is, but he became known for having the square taco, and so he was featured on the Food Network, and so it was those kind of unique things that nobody else has a square taco, and I'm not entirely sure the square taco is better, although he contends that it is, that you can put more food inside of there. But it's just, creating those unique things. And like I said before, so many stores now are doing the same things. We've had to offer the curbside service, we've had to offer the delivery. So that no longer sets that store apart from anyone else. It just makes you kind of on even keel. So, what can you do that makes your place of business totally unique?
Right.
And that's what we spend some time working on and helping you find that for your particular business.
Right. I mean, that makes perfect sense because that's something that Walmart cannot and will not ever be able to compete with.
Right.
They are always going to be able to offer the largest selection of things that apply to most consumers, the broadest base of consumers. And you're never going to beat that battle. But you can have stuff that is not easy to replicate, especially if it's something that has to be done by hand or unique or required you to purchase specialized tools for something like. But if you do something that's unique or different, I could definitely see how that would make you stand out, and I could see that really helping small businesses, and that makes sense. So that's kind of
Right.
part of, I guess, what you would do with them. You
Yes.
would you would sit down, talk with them based on their business, what they know,
Mhm.
what they can and can't do, and then figure out some way to do that. And then I guess, and then after that, how to maybe market it.
Right.
And
Yeah, and marketing is a component of it. It's lots and lots of brainstorming and thinking about ways that you can do your business differently, because we know we're not ever going to go back to the way business was in the past, that we have to find new ways, and we've got to be more creative than ever. The whole landscape of owning a business, especially an independent business, has changed for us.
right, and I think that's something a lot of people are starting to understand, but I think we'll get more and more business owners to kind of give into the idea that it's not really going to go back exactly how it was, even when things open up and people come in. It's still going to be where so many people have been driven online that that's still going to be their number one go-to before they get in the car and decide where to go. I think a lot of people are going to want to get out of their house, go enjoy stuff and things like that. But they're going to figure out where am I going to spend my time? Where am I going to go? And I think they're going to make that decision largely on social media, which is another important thing about having social media is people don't think of it this way, but it's true. It's also a search engine. It is
Mhm.
a directory.
Mhm.
You go to a town, you can type in restaurants, things like that, and you can find what you want in the search bar via Facebook, via Instagram, even via Twitter, via hashtag searching. And it really is a search engine too. So, and if you got nothing else, you don't have a website, and someone searches your business name, if it's the same as your page, your Facebook page will show up in the Google
Mhm.
search. So, it is kind of your presence online, and it's like putting you in the phone book, except
Right.
unlike phone books, it's something people still use for that
That's
kind of
true.
thing.
So I guess kind of wrapping it all up, what we've talked about is just the importance for small businesses in, getting through this time and not only just getting through this time, but to find a new position for their business and to be better than they ever thought they could be. And it takes all we've got and then some. It takes that social media presence, and it takes having that um, distinct thing that you can say about yourself to make yourself a destination. And I think, and I ask this to my clients, what would be something about your business that would make somebody want to take a road trip to come see your store or come see your business? And that really is what it takes anymore. We have to be all that and then some.
Right. No, absolutely. I would say that's a pretty good summary. It's this idea that you have to be online, you have to stand out and be unique, and you have to really bring something to the table that is worth spending their money there
Mhm.
with you.
Right.
Uh, I guess just saying you're local doesn't cut it as much anymore as it used to.
Right.
And I mean, that's the reality. But there is a silver lining here, I would say. While this has been really bad for some businesses, there are some businesses that are actually doing better.
Mhm.
And this challenge uh, is just that, a challenge. And if you rise to meet the challenge, you can actually come out way ahead of your competition if they're not meeting the challenge as well as you are. So I think when it comes to entrepreneurship and businesses, it's all about adapting and trying to be in front of everyone else a little bit,
Right.
right? And I see this as one of those great watershed moments, one of those great times where um, businesses can really kind of adapt, and coming out on the other side you're going to see some a lot stronger than they were before, and some maybe on their last leg, but I there's still potential. It's not dead. A lot of businesses, I just saw a thing where it was saying Apple for the first time hit 100 billion in a quarter, in its entire history. And I guess what I'm getting at is that while yes, some are losing, um, there's also a lot of gains too. So if you haven't already, please like, follow, and subscribe to Los Banos Talk. We have Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, losbanostalk.com. You can also listen to all the episodes in the form of a podcast on all the major podcast platforms. Once again, my name is Justin Collins, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.